Another Day, Another Story, Confessions of an Economic Hitman, by John Perkins Part 2. In the first part of our podcast, we took you on a deep dive into the controversial book, Confessions of an Economic Hitman, written by John Perkins. We explored Perkins' personal experiences as a former economic hitman, working behind the scenes, assisting large corporations and the U.S. government in influencing the economies of developing countries worldwide. Now, in this second part, we will delve deeper by posing some crucial questions related to this book. First question: what are some of the consequences of economic hitmen's actions on developing countries? The consequences of economic hitmen's actions on developing countries are devastating. These actions often result in massive debt burdens for these countries, which they are unable to repay. This leads to the imposition of harsh austerity measures, such as cuts to social programs and public services, which disproportionately affect the poor. Economic hitmen also contribute to the destruction of the environment and the displacement of indigenous peoples. In addition, they often support corrupt and authoritarian regimes, which suppress dissent and violate human rights. All of these factors contribute to the widening gap between the rich and poor, and perpetuate a system of global inequality. Second question: how do economic hitmen manipulate financial reports to deceive developing countries? Economic hitmen manipulate financial reports by providing highly optimistic and unrealistic economic projections to developing countries. These projections are often made using inaccurate or incomplete data, and are often inflated to make developing countries appear richer and more capable of repaying debt. Economic hitmen also often pressure government officials to accept unfavorable loans, using rewards or threats. In some cases, economic hitmen also use corrupt practices to ensure that projects funded by these loans are given to companies associated with them. All of these tactics aim to enrich themselves and large corporations, while developing countries are trapped in debt they cannot afford to pay. Last question: what are the organizations that serve as funding sources for economic hitmen? Economic hitmen receive funding from various organizations, including the World Bank, the U.S. Agency for International Development, USAID, and other foreign aid organizations. These organizations provide loans and grants to developing countries, which are often used to fund large infrastructure projects. Economic hitmen use these loans to manipulate the economies of developing countries and ensure that the projects are given to large corporations that they are associated with. The loans are often structured in a way that makes it difficult for developing countries to repay them, leading to a cycle of debt and dependence. How do economic hitmen influence the outcomes of general elections in developing countries? Economic hitmen often use their influence to manipulate the outcomes of elections in developing countries. They do this by supporting candidates who are friendly to their interests and using their financial resources to sway public opinion. Economic hitmen also use their connections to the media to control the narrative and ensure that their preferred candidates are portrayed in a positive light. In some cases, they may even resort, according to the book, economic hitmen have various tactics to influence the outcomes of elections in developing countries. They often work behind the scenes to support political candidates who are favorable to their interests and the interests of the corporatocracy. This can involve providing financial support, campaign assistance, and even orchestrating smear campaigns against opposing candidates. Economic hitmen also use their influence to manipulate public opinion through media control and propaganda. By ensuring that their preferred candidates are elected, economic hitmen can maintain their control over the economic and political systems of these countries, furthering their own agenda and that of the corporatocracy. Listeners, as we conclude this thought-provoking journey into the heart of John Perkins' Confessions of an Economic Hitman, we hope you've gained valuable insights and a deeper understanding of the complex forces at play in our global economic landscape. In this two-part exploration, we've peeled back the layers of intrigue, deceit, and power that have shaped the destinies of developing nations. We've examined the ways economic hitmen operate, manipulating financial systems, influencing elections, and leaving a lasting impact on the world's economies. As we close this chapter, we encourage you to continue seeking knowledge and questioning the status quo. Understanding the past and present is vital for shaping a more equitable and just future. Remember, knowledge is the first step toward positive change. We hope this podcast has ignited a spark within you to explore further, ask questions, and work towards a better world. Thank you for joining us on this journey. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep questioning.